Hi, I'm Michael Reshaw of Recirculating Farms, and today we're going to talk about transplanting. Transplanting is when you move your seedlings that you started indoors or outdoors to their final growth space. This can be transferring them from plugs, 3-inch pots like we have here with our basil, 4-inch pots, or even transferring shrubs or trees to new locations. Transplanting is a little different for every species. For instance, tomatoes like to have a lot of their leaves plucked off and planted very deep into the ground so they can create a stronger root system, whereas broccoli has a very tender root system and needs to be handled very delicately before you transplant it. It's important to do some research so you can find out the proper transplanting guidelines for your plant before you get started. Today we're going to give basic guidelines on how to transplant plants, and we're going to do that demonstrating with basil. So you can purchase your plants from a local nursery or by purchasing seed packets from a reputable dealer. If you purchase seed packets, it's important to start more seeds than you plan on growing so you can have a nice selection of plants to choose from. You only want to transplant the strongest plants. Same goes when buying from a local nursery. You only want to select the strongest plants available. You don't want plants that are yellowing or browning, showing any signs of disease or pest damage, or looking very leggy, or looking like they're root bound. Root bound happens when a plant stays in the pot for too long. The roots begin to wrap around and follow the direction of the pot, and when transplanting, it makes it very hard for these roots to spread out and grow in the directions that they're supposed to grow. Before transplanting, it's important to harden off your plants. Hardening off your plants is exposing them to the elements that they'll be grown in. This is extremely important if you're starting them indoors. You don't want to put your plants outdoors and they start to wilt immediately. You want to slowly get them adjusted by increasing the time that they're outside in their growth space every single day. So maybe for a couple of hours each day, you want to put them where you plan to plant them. Another thing to do is to properly prepare the growth space. This could be mulching, adding necessary amendments, and making sure that it's properly irrigated. You need to make sure that the growth space is properly watered as well as the transplant. I like to give my transplants a good head start by watering them with water-soluble fertilizer and also watering them again after I transplant them with the same fertilizer. It's a really good tip to put them into the ground during the cooler evening hours because they won't get beat up by the elements. First thing that we're going to do is prepare the site. I want to thoroughly water the growth space. Make sure that our plant starter is thoroughly watered using our water-soluble fertilizer. I'm using dissolved Peruvian seabird guano. I remove the plant by gently squeezing the sides of the pot. This plant is almost root bound, and basil likes when its roots are spread out so it can easily grow into its growth space. So I'm going to gently pull these roots apart and give our plant a better chance at getting acclimated to its growth space. Now I'm going to create a hole about twice the size of my plant start. And with basil, we want the plant to be level with the ground. Some plants like to be planted a little bit deeper, like we mentioned earlier, tomato. This one's going to be planted right at ground level, and we're going to gently pack in the soil. And then we're going to give it another water with our water-soluble fertilizer. Now we're going to talk about transplanting into raised beds or in the ground. It's really important to think about spacing when you're planting next to other plants. Here, we're making sure that we're at least 12 inches away from our cabbage plants. We're going to clear off the space. Give it a nice watering. Dig our hole. Remove our already watered transplant. Place it gently into the ground, at ground level, and pack in the dirt firmly around it. Then we're going to go ahead and give it a nice, good watering with our fertilizer. It's important to cover the plant up with mulch after planting to help retain moisture. Transplanting is a very vulnerable time for your plants, so it's extremely important to check in on them daily and make sure that they're doing okay. Make sure that you keep them very hydrated so they can establish themselves. If you follow all the guidelines that we laid out, you'll give your plants a great shot at thriving. Please comment below if you have any questions, and also keep your eye out on all of our social medias for upcoming videos. Bye, see you next time.